Yep. So we're back on Championship Line Part Two of Chris Lytle. So yes, continuing that. How how was life afterwards? You were saying you were a firefighter. So how was the transition now? From being a pro fighter now living the dad life. And as a fireman.
Um, you know, it was all pretty similar. You know, I mean, it was funny. A lot more of the guys at the fire department now. I mean, they watched my show and they knew a little bit more about what I did. I mean, a lot of them times I just found out later on. I'd come in with black eyes, and these guys would be like, "What the hell's wrong with this guy, man?" This guy, they didn't understand what I was doing, but then it kind of came like, oh, "Okay, this guy's a professional athlete," So then it kind of, all the jokes like, "Oh, don't mess with this guy," or just whatever, you know what I mean? So it's just, but I mean, as far as the fire department, it was all pretty similar. Besides, every now and again, you go on runs, and people are like, "Haven't I seen you on TV?" Or "What's your name?" They're like, "Yeah." I'm funny. I remember this one kid. He'd broken his ankle and his bone was sticking out, and he's screaming. I'm kind of helping him, holding his hand, everything, like whatever. And he's like, he stops. He's like, "And your name Chris Lytle?" I was like, "Yeah." He was just funny how he's like, "Oh man, I've watched you fight before," but I was like, "Where'd that pain go?" He just quit talking about his bone sticking out, but it was pretty awesome. So that happened. What also is funny is every now and again somebody would be like, "Hold on a second. Aren't you Chuck Liddell?" I get that all the time. I'm like, "No, I'm not Chuck Liddell. Chris Lytle, very close in name." They call me Chuck a lot, so I don't know. I'm like, "Yeah, close enough, whatever. You got it." So,
I mean, same initials.
yeah, exactly. See how, yeah.
When you look back with that fight with Dan Hardy, would you consider that the best moment of your career?
I'd have to say, without a doubt, man. I mean, the fighting career is so weird. It's full of ups and downs, and all your wins are so great, losses are so devastating. But I mean, when you go out there and you say this is your last one, like you want to win it, but you never know how it's going to go. And just to have that win the way it went would have been probably my favorite, no matter what. But just with all that emotion involved with it being my last one, there's no other way I'd want to go out. You know what I mean? There's just nothing else could be better than that I couldn't think of. So, I mean, everything that happened, I mean, if I'd have wrote it down, it probably wouldn't have came out that good. So to have that happen like that and just to kind of walk out on top and ride off into the sunset, like I said, you don't see many people do it. It really something I don't like about this sport in a way. As a lot of the guys who I love watching fight, they go out losing the last 3 or 4 in a row. They get knocked out. And I was like, stop fighting, please. I'd like to see more people be like, that's it, go out on a high note, man. I mean, I don't know. I was just fortunate enough to be able to do it. I don't see many people do that, and I'd like to see more.
No, that's for sure. Some like you left in the perfect time. You knew when it was time for you to go, when you rode off the sunset. With a big win.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I still feel like I could have stuck around and competed for a while more. Like, as I could tell when I took off about 5 years, and then I came back and did 3 bare knuckle fights, and I still felt great doing it. So I know physically I could have kept fighting. I just and it wasn't even mentally I didn't want to. It's just like I said, I felt like it was the right thing to do. Having kids. I knew that at some point my kids were going to be gone, and I would not know who they were at all if I didn't quit. I wasn't spending enough time with them. I just wasn't really being a good dad. I was being a great provider. I made it where my wife didn't have to work for 12 years. She didn't have to do anything. But I wasn't being around, they were getting older, and that was fine when they were in first and second grade. You had to do something. I mean, all of a sudden they're middle school and high school, and you're not around. You realize they're going to be gone soon. You ain't going to know them. So I just felt really bad for that, and I couldn't. After I realized that, I couldn't go back and say, "Well, I'm just going to keep fighting. Screw those guys." I couldn't do that. I felt bad, and I wanted to be around the house more, and so it was I was able to do that.
And also, like, after that fight when you retired, did the UFC ever approach you again to come back out of retirement?
You know what? They did not. I honestly think Dana kind of feels the same way I do about it. I think he liked the way I was able to go out, and I know when you see him talking about other fighters who continue to, get knocked out their last 4 out of the last 5 fights and everything, I know He's you've heard him say it several times. We're gonna have to have a serious talk. I'm gonna have to have a talk with this guy if he thinks he's gonna fight again. I mean, Anderson Silva's like, you're not fighting for us anymore. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And he's just talked about Cowboys. Like, I got to talk to him about it. There's certain guys, Matt Hughes, Chuck Liddell, like you can tell he does not want them fighting like that. He actually cares about these guys, likes these guys, and doesn't want to see their legacies tarnished like this. But I think I'm thinking he might have saw it as like a way to be like, hey, this is a blueprint for how I want you guys to do this, and go after it like that. You decide when you quit. Don't let me decide when to quit. You know what I mean?
Oh yeah, I mean, absolutely. I mean, with that, and then what made you want to go back to compete again, especially with your first bare knuckle fight?
I told you, man, I was just at that point, my kids have gotten a little older. I think two of them had graduated from high school at this point, and then luckily, like fighting had evolved a little bit where I lived, the gym situation, everything. So I was able to go in during the day at this point and train. And when my kids were at school, so I could go in during the day and train. Before, it was always, when my kids were at school, I was at home, and then all of a sudden are doing some kind of training, cardio, whatever. But then, 5 o'clock at night, 4:30, when my kids would get home or do basketball, I had to go to the gym. That was the only time we could be in there. So then I was able to move things around now. I'm able to go to the gym at 9 o'clock in the morning. Well, now I can train whenever I want. And still make it happen. Now, I'm watching those bare-knuckle fights. Like I said, I watched Joe Riggs do a bare-knuckle fight on, like, YouTube or Facebook or something. And I was like, Joe, what the hell's wrong with you? And then I watch it, and I'm like, okay, I think I want to do this. I just thought as a guy who'd been a combative athlete at UFC, I'd MMA when you could headbutt. I did boxing. I did all that stuff. I was like, how could I not try this type of thing once? And back then, it was only legal in Europe. So I got a hold of people from Europe, and they had me come out, and I was like, man, this was awesome. I get to go to England and I do some, like, underground type bare-knuckle thing. It was awesome. So I did that, and then I came here and tried to get it legalized. They were like, nope. All right, whatever. And then a few months later, they legalized it here in Wyoming, and I got a call from the bare-knuckle organization wanted me to fight, and I was all about it. So I ended up signing up and doing a couple fights for him. But I mean, that desire was always there. The opportunity wasn't, so like I said, I got my kids where some of my older kids, I got to experience more time with them. Even when my younger children, like, I got to experience time with them because they'd be home from school. I'd be done. I'd be done with my training. So things just changed the way it worked out. I never felt like I had to miss out on stuff with them like I used to. I didn't feel like I was fighting over my kids this time. That was the big difference.
No, that was a beautiful decision. I really admire that. Stopping, and spending time with your children. But another thing I want to talk: how important do you think, for fighters, especially now, to see, what's after fight life? Many fighters seem to struggle once, the bright lights turn off and they can't see. They still want to continue, like Silva, also BJ Penn. The list goes on. How important do you think is to look past, the octagon?
Man, that's one of the big things that I think needs to be addressed. And I think what I'd like to see is some good management teams, or I don't know, maybe somebody start their own business saying, hey, what we're going to work on is transitioning from fighting to the after your fight career is over. People got to figure out what they want to do. And there's I'd hate to see people peak out when they're 30 and the rest of their lives kind of, whatever, because they did all their stuff before that. I mean, you ever watch the old Married with Children? Has like Al Bundy. He's still reminiscent on his high school football. Scored 4 touchdowns for Polk High. I mean, you don't want to be that guy talking about what you did in high school. How are you doing when you're 25 or 30? So I want people to have stuff to build on later, do something later, whether that's commentary, whether that's running a gym, whether that's coaching, whether that's running another business. You have to figure out like an exit strategy and a transition and start working on that while you are still fighting. You have to find an area that you think you will like, can be good at, and work towards making that the next step to your career, and then figuring out, because you have this energy or you have this goal. Like when you're a fighter, you're very goal oriented typically. Like, I know this is my date is, let's say, June 3rd. June 3rd I have a fight. So that means 8 weeks out, I have to do this. 6 weeks out, I got to do this. 5 weeks out, you have everything planned out. You have goals you want to accomplish, and that's what makes it, when you have a fight and you win, it's so great because you accomplish that goal that one night. You don't usually get one night to know when your goal is, but here you do. So goal-oriented people need to have goals, and when you retire from fighting, there's no goal. You're lost a lost soul for a while. That's why a lot of guys keep coming back to fighting. They don't have anything to focus on to give them purpose in life. And that's why I think it's important to try and transition into something else. I don't care what it is. You're a coach now. Okay, now I coach this guy, and he has a fight this day or whatever. Or, you run your gym, and I got to make this amount of money. Or, I don't know, I'm commentary. I got to go here and learn about these guys and do this night. You need something, or you're just going to – those wheels in your head are going to spin, and you're going to want to do something.
No, that's very well said. Alex and I are big MMA fans. It's tough to see, fighters looking lost, or like you said, they'll leave for 5 years and then come back. And a perfect example, Alex and I are big Ken Shamrock fans, and for him to come back in Bellator was a little hard to watch. We admire that, he wants to keep on fighting. He loves fighting, but sometimes, like you said, father time comes knocking at the door and it's time to go.
Yeah. I mean, he's had a lot of different ventures he's kind of dove into. I'd like to see him kind of stick with something and just, because, I mean, the dude was a legend, an icon of the sport. He hasn't, I would say, went downhill as much as a lot of these guys. A lot of guys are just like, they got knocked out, they get knocked out. I'm like, who's putting these guys in fights? Don't stop it. But he hasn't been like that. But he needs to quit fighting, man. Come on, do something else, buddy.
No, that's for sure. I believe he even started his own bare knuckle fighting championship as well.
He did. Valor. I think they only had one fight though.
Yeah, one event.
So hopefully he dips into something else. But like you said, you have to find something else after fight life. Another thing I want to fast forward to now. Every sport, especially boxing, had their dark ages. UFC too, where everyone was kind of the red. You had the stepchild of martial arts, and now it's in the mainstream, and now everyone wants to become a fighter. It seems like it, especially now with boxing, with the YouTubers. What is your opinion with like Logan Paul and Jake Paul and boxing and headlining, and one of them is about to fight Mayweather as well?
Yeah, this just kind of goes to show you. Fighting has always been. It's weird. It is a sport. I know it's a sport. However, at the end of the day, it's also entertainment. And unfortunately, that angle's taken over more so than the sport. It used to be you'd say, man, they can't legalize this fight, because this guy doesn't have the experience. There's credentials they have to get. Well, now it's an exhibition, and it's about, how many YouTube followers they're going to have, or how many likes they're going to get, or how many people are going to watch. It's all about, they put him in with anybody if they get the views. It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter what happens with the fight. It's kind of, in a way, could you say, is it disrespectful to the sport? Yeah, but it's not. Like I said, to me, it's about however many people you're going to get to watch. It's just entertainment at the end of the day. I think people have to realize it. I don't care if you're the best fight in the world and you can't get 20 people who want to watch. You're not that marketable. You got to do something different, brother. You have to change it up. So I get it. It is unfortunate that these guys who, in my opinion, don't deserve that opportunity are getting it. But if Floyd, he's worked hard to get where he's at. If he wants to go out there and fight these clowns, go ahead, man. I don't know. That's his choice. I got on and said, if you want to fight, come. You want to do real fighting? Come do bare knuckle. I'll fight your ass. But that's something I'd come out of retirement for.
Honestly, I don't think they will last in bare knuckle. But
yeah, we'll see. We'll see.
And talking about bare knuckle, is there anyone that do you want to fight in bare knuckle that for you to come back? Is there a specific fight?
I don't know, man. I always wanted to. One thing I've always was wanting to do was I tried to get a boxing match with Roy Jones for a long time, and it was kind of close to happening a few times, but it fell apart. I'd do a bare knuckle with Roy. He's always been one of my favorites. I'd like to do that. That'd be cool. Yeah, that'd be about as good as it gets,
Oh yeah, I would buy a ticket right away to see that. That'd be awesome.
Well, like I said, he's older. I'm older. I mean, he just fought Mike Tyson. He had to lose a few pounds. I ain't going up to 200 or nothing. It'd be fun, man. I'd do that one in a heartbeat.
Yeah, speaking of that, what were your thoughts on him versus Tyson?
Well, it happened pretty much exactly like I thought it would. I mean, to be honest with you, they weren't fighting. I mean, I knew when there was going to be exhibition, I was telling everybody they're not going to try to hurt each other. People were like, yeah, they are. I was like, all right. I was like, oh, those competitive juices they're going to try and knock each other out. I said, dude, I mean, first of all, Mike Tyson hits like a freight train, and Roy, to be honest with you, his chin's not like what it used to be. Mm-hmm. If he takes a good Mike Tyson punch, he's going down. I don't know if a lot of people could tell, but Mike Tyson wasn't trying to hurt him in there. I mean, he was trying to go out there and make it look like he was trying to hurt him. But he's pulling his punches. He's hitting with the body hard. He's not really hitting with the head hard. He went out there to make it last and to put on 8 rounds and tie up and make money. I mean, I get it. They both want to make some money, and it was smart, but it wasn't a real fight. I hope people don't think it was. But
I mean, especially
what were your thoughts on it? Do you think they were trying to hurt each other? I mean, I did not think they were.
In a way, I felt like maybe Tyson was trying to, but not Jones.
Yeah, well, yeah, I would agree with that. But I mean, I think Roy, to be kind of new, he got hit once. I think after that, like, I better be careful because I mean, I think he knew if he got clipped with a good punch, he'd get hurt. So I think he's like, I'm just going to go out here and throw my jab out a lot and do some things here. But I don't think he's really. I think Mike was trying to pull his punches and just. I think what happened was they both go, hey man, I can spar with my buddy for 8 rounds and make a lot of money. All right, let's do it. Boom. That's what happened.
Especially,
I can spar with my guys in the gym and make it look like I'm trying to kill them, even though I'm not. I guarantee you.
Mm-hmm. I mean, especially the legends fighting against each other. You think that's gonna be a trend now? Like everyone's gonna want to fight, and you think they're gonna?
I definitely think it'll happen again. I don't know. I think the numbers will be way down. I think they did really good with that one. And usually when you have like a gimmicky thing like this, the first one far outshines the rest. So I think it'll happen again, and it'll probably do half as well. And then you'll do another one, it'll probably do half as well as that, and they'll probably like, man, say worth it, you know what I mean? But who knows? I don't know. That's my thought. Maybe people will want to see, Oscar De La Hoya fight. I don't know. We'll see.
Oh yes, for sure. I feel like you said, it'd be hard to duplicate. The numbers. MMA. We've had those fights. Speaking earlier with Hoist Gracie versus Shamrock, and then we had recently, not too long ago, Liddell versus Ortiz 3.
Yeah.
What were your thoughts? On those fights?
Man, that was. I mean, you could just tell before that happened. That had no business happening. Mm-hmm. Chuck was just unbelievably good legend for the sport and all this and that, but then even when you watch him train, I was like, he shouldn't be fighting right now. You know what I mean? That's one of the guys who, I love watching Chuck fight. Great fighter, phenomenal, did so much for the sport, but he got knocked out, probably 3 of his last 4 fights or something, and then taking 3 years off, it doesn't help. You know what I mean? You're not going to come back and be this other fighter. And Tito's still been fighting the whole time. I mean, if they're fighting anywhere in the prime, Tito doesn't beat him, but Chuck just didn't have it left. So I'm like, what are you doing? And he goes out there and fights and loses and kind of tarnishes his undefeated record against Tito, So I didn't care for it.
No, same here. I'm a fan of both of them, and it was rough to see. Even footage before, you saw Liddell just hitting the pads, and he kind of seemed a shell of him.
Right then, I was like, this is not going to be good. You could just tell. And I don't think a lot of people, especially more than newer fans, I don't think anybody can realize how big of a deal Tito Ortiz was back in the day. When Zubin first bought the UFC, he carried the UFC for years. People don't realize that when they came in, even when the Chuck Liddell era was going, like Tito, he's all right, but no, he carried the UFC. He was it for, early on when Zubin bought. He carried the organization, man.
No, yes, that's for sure. You feel if the modern fans forget, Alex and I really, are fans of boxing. I mean, we try to go as far as we can with the beginning of the sport, and with our friends, they seem so into Conor McGregor and Israel Adesanya. We're saying no, don't forget the guys like Chris Lytle, don't forget the guys like Matt Serra and Jens Pulver who built this sport, and also Tito Ortiz. How do you feel about that with the modern MMA fans?
Well, that's just that's life in general. I mean, you get modern, newer NFL fans, newer NBA fans. I mean, you know, you don't get all the historians, and you know, I get it. It wasn't mainstream back then. That, which in a way was part of the cool part about it back then. I mean, that's one of the reasons I got involved with the bare knuckle, because it reminds me of the UFC before it blew up. You know, I mean, it was cool. I remember going after one of the fights. I think it was in Connecticut, and afterwards we were in like one of the hotel rooms. Like it was a big like suite or something, but like over there in the bathroom is, you know, Chuck Liddell and some other people, and like over here I'm talking to Evan Tanner, and then over there, you know, it's like some other guys. So it was like everybody just be hanging out. You know, it wasn't like I'm having an after fight party at the Pure, you know, casino. It was like everybody was hanging out. Like it was so weird looking back now. People would be like, "No, you couldn't get all those guys in the same hotel." Yeah, everybody was kind of hanging out, having fun. So it was like it wasn't nearly as popular in big circles, but in small circles it still was. And it was just really cool to be part of. And that's what I see with this bare knuckle. It reminds me of that, and it's fun again. You know what I mean? I mean, there's really good aspects to what happened to the UFC and how it blew up, and you know, I absolutely love that. But it is still cool to be around the old environment, and that's what I feel when I'm with the bare knuckle people. Like maybe, hopefully, at some point, this will be like blown up, you know. But and all the people I'm with now will be like, I remember when it was. Yeah, I've been back with two sports now. It's fun.
Oh yeah, no, for sure. You know, like you said, it's very similar to the old UFC days. Do you see how fast you see, you know, bare knuckle fighting growing in the States, especially right now that's sanctioned in Wyoming? You think it's going to be sanctioned in other states pretty soon?
Oh, it is sanctioned in a lot of states now. It was just in Wyoming. I never fought in Wyoming. But my first fight was in Mississippi with those guys, and then it's sanctioned in Florida, and then we've been in Kansas, and then I know we have Alabama, and I think we're just getting Arizona and New Mexico, and I don't know if Texas is there yet. We're getting a lot more states that are opening up to us. You know, a lot of people are saying that. To be honest with you, they just had a great report come out from medical doctors saying that actually bare knuckle is safer than MMA or boxing. Something I already knew. You know, something in order for me to come back, I had to convince my wife of. I was like, hey, look, this is way safer than boxing or MMA. I mean, okay, I will give you this. There might be more blood. There might be more cuts. I'll admit that. Like, superficially, it's more dangerous. You're not taking the head trauma, though, as you do in MMA or boxing. And that's all I care about. You know, if I'm older and I have a few more scars on my head, I don't really give a shit. But if I can't think of what's going on or, you know, put my pants on right, that's a problem. And boxing and MMA will do more of that than bare knuckle. Bare knuckle, you can't take sustained blows to the head without getting cut. So that brain is not going to hit the skull repeatedly, you know, 10, 15, 20 times around the same way it does, you know, with a boxing match or a MMA match. If you're not going to have me on the ground hitting me with elbows or knees to the head, I mean, none of that stuff's happening. So this boxing report, or this report that came out, I think boxing commissions or fight commissions are looking at, the bare knuckle's not as bad. They still have the stigma, how it looks, and a lot more blood, but it is safer than boxing or MMA, in my opinion.
Oh, no, I totally agree. Alex and I try to convince, you know, our parents and other people, like, no, this is safer.
Yeah.
And they say, no, boxing is because of gloves. I'm like, no, the glove, you're carrying, 12, 16-ounce glove, and the glove isn't to protect the fighters, to protect the hands. You know?
I mean, those were never designed to help the fighter. They're there because the fights were getting over too quick. So like, hey, we'll put this pad on. They could take more shots to the head. I don't think they really understood that disseminating that blow would make, you know, the head, the skull hit that, you know, the brain hit the skull that much more. And I've seen too many boxers who down the end of their career, they're not good. They don't talk well. It's just not a good sign. I don't think you're going to get that from bare knuckle. I mean, you're not going to be able to take those kind of punches. Even the training for it, you can't. Like sparring, I can spar all day boxing, take a lot of punches. You can't do that with bare knuckle. I mean, like you don't spar bare knuckle with little gloves. You can't block the same way. So you don't. It's more in and out. You don't stay inside and trade punches as much. And if you do, you're probably going to get cut open. Somebody's going to get cut open. You got to be careful. So it's just a different animal, but it's definitely safer in my opinion. But the masses don't understand that.
No, I totally agree. We try to push that, you know, our friends and other fans that, you know, it is safer.
Yeah.
And also,
Yeah.
like with bare knuckle, like I feel like as of now, it's gonna keep growing. It's gonna keep growing because it's already growing as it is now. Especially like the signings of like with Paige Van Zandt signing with them,
Uh-huh.
and
Oh, yeah.
I feel like with that, it now I feel like people are taking it more serious with bare
Oh
knuckle.
man, I mean, yeah, Paige is huge. She's fighting for us Super Bowl weekend, February 5th, in where the Super Bowl is. Tampa will put on a fight. So excited for that one. That's got a great co-main event. Would be a main event anywhere else but Paige is here. So we got Johnny Bedford versus that win, a legit,
Oh, yeah.
20-something 3 boxer. That's just phenomenal. Johnny Bedford's 5-0, so I can't wait for that fight. But having someone like Paige come over, a girl in her prime, she's like 26 years old. That's huge. I mean, just watching, her social media platform, we're hoping is going to get a ton of people to watch this sport for the first time. When they watch it, I don't know too many people who watch it and they'll go, well, when's the next one? I want to see it. And I don't understand these. I mean, these guys are doing great things, but they've got the BKFC, or the Bare Knuckle Fight TV app, and it's only like $4 a month. And for that, you get all the fights. I'm like, are you shitting me? I mean, I don't understand that. It's like less than $50 a year, and you can get 10 fights. I mean, we might put on 10 fights next year, and you get all those for $50. It's unreal how cheap this thing is, and it's just phenomenal to watch. It's a great thing. So, really enjoying that, and I hope Paige can bring a lot more people to watch it. And once they see it, who's not going to pay $50 for the year for that? That's crazy.
Oh, I mean, I'm gonna watch that for sure.
Yeah, it's not only that, you get all the. It's just like all the other apps, you get the backstories, the interviews, all the other stuff. So I'm just like, dude, you can go back and watch any fight. It's just crazy.
Oh, I mean, and this cool thing is like there's so many like talented fighters in bare knuckle. A lot of killers in there.
Yeah.
So like,
well, and the cool thing is too, it's like we got now the new Toe the Line series. I think some new Kingdom series. They're trying to get other places because. The thing that we've talked about, and the thing we realize is like, hey, the BKFC is like the UFC. It's like the Super Bowl of fights. We can't have guys who are 0-0 come here fight. So what they're doing now, they're saying, okay, so you do the Toe the Line series, or you do this Kingdom. Like, you go get 1 or 2 fights someplace else, and if we like you, we'll bring you over to BKFC. If you earn your way here, you don't have guys 0-0 in the UFC. You have to have guys who had 5, 6, 8, 10 fights. Who knows what it is? So we're trying to do the same thing with bare knuckle, and that's the direction the sucker's going into.
And especially like with bare knuckle, there's no other competition for you guys. I mean, you guys are like the number one company for bare knuckle.
Yeah, I mean, there's like that Data 5000 does something like a little pyramid or a triangle. Like I said, Ken Shamrock did one. There's a couple little things that are trying to do stuff, but I mean, they're just what they are. They're like I talked about those tier systems. We're the top tier, and those are like 2 or 3 tier. They're a couple steps down, which is fine. We need those people to develop fighters as well. But if you watch our production value, I mean, everything's really good with BKFC, and they're treating people right. And I know there was one fight that somebody put on, tried to compete over in Wyoming. Nobody got paid, It's like It was a train wreck, They were offering all these guys all this money. You're going to get $100,000. I was like, dude, I mean, how are you supposed to do that with your first fight? You don't have any. I mean, they were offering all these things. Well, everybody's check bounced, so that makes sense. Guy ended up in prison for something else, I believe. Yeah. So.
Yeah, I remember that. That was pretty nasty. A lot of fighters were upset, and poor Boss Rutan was in the middle of that too.
Well, and that had nothing to do with Boss. I felt really bad. He's a great guy. He had nothing to do with that. He got asked to do commentary or something for matchmaking, and he comes in, and then all of a sudden, his check was clearing. He was getting paid before. He's like, okay, this is on the up and up, and didn't really know the guy, but then all of a sudden they tried to make him president in the last minute. He's like, hold on a second, and then he almost got caught, holding the bag. And he's like, hey, dude, I got nothing to do with this. So I felt horrible for him. He's a fighter first and foremost and just a great guy. And, he felt horrible about it. He's like, dude, I had nothing to do with it. I didn't, I was just supposed to be here doing this part of it. And then everything else happened. And people look at me. I was like, hey, man, I didn't know this guy didn't have any money. The check he gave me cleared for my work. And then what am I supposed to do? So he got a bad rap for that.
Oh yeah, and then I saw the video of Chris Lytle kind of exposing the company too.
Yeah,
which was
a couple of people learned real quick. Like they were like, "Hey, man, I think like an NFL player was supposed to fight was like Sean Merriman, and then like somebody else was supposed to fight, and they backed out. They're like, "Hey, man, these guys said I was going to get this coming here. I'm not getting it. I'm not fighting because you tell those guys are going to get paid $250,000. You're supposed to give them 25 to begin with. You don't even come up with that when you get. They're like, yeah, this ain't going to happen. These guys are full of crap. It's like you can't pay people that much when you've never had a fight. It's like, well, how do you? They were supposed to be giving away cars and all this stuff for like fight the night. Like, dude, how does this happen? I mean, you can't do that. You can't. I mean, it sounds great, and everybody thinks these fighters need to get paid what they deserve. It's like the company has to make money first. If they lose money, you can't do it. I mean, there will be no fights if the company doesn't make some kind of money. You know what I mean?
No, I totally agree. They're giving these big promises that they couldn't keep. Right away, I remember seeing all that. The cars and the money. I'm like, there's no way you haven't even done your first event yet.
That's exactly what I was saying. I was like, dude, I mean, I understand. I put on enough fights to understand that these guys are full of crap. You know what I mean? And you always got to be careful. If it's too good to be true, it probably is. These people didn't quite understand that. And, I've been caught up in the same thing. I've had fights where my check bounced. And looking back, just young and inexperienced, like, oh, okay, cool. Yeah, this is great. But if it's too good to be true, it probably is.
No, yeah, very, very well said. Another thing we wanted to talk about, that you have a foundation.
Yeah, absolutely. The Chris Lytle Foundation. I established that, probably about 6 or 7 years ago, man. I was, it's an anti-bully foundation. I don't know if I ever talked about it. I got the 4 kids, and my youngest son, Jake, has autism, so that's just something I'm kind of, I don't know if the right word is hypersensitive to or very aware of. Just how people treat other people, because I know there's stuff my son does that is, I'm sure, very awkward to people. But, I mean, it's not like he means to do it or has any say-so. It's not like he chose that. So, I just see people getting mistreated sometimes, and it kind of, my heart goes out to them. So, I try to go to schools. I talk to kids. I wrote a children's book. I try and give as many of those as I can out. Just try to explain to people how they need to be, leaders and stand up for people who are having trouble standing up for themselves, and how, that is a better feeling to have people look up to you like that than to try and make them feel bad. You feel much better about yourself and other people. You're going to be their hero if you stand up for them. So.
Oh, I mean, that's awesome. I mean, because like me and my brother, we've gone through, bullying back when we were little. So for us to hear that, what you're doing, it's awesome, and we applaud that. It's really good what you're doing. And is there any for the listeners out there listening, anything, any info they could get on? And
for that?
Yes, for the foundation.
Oh yeah, man, go to ChrisLytleFoundation.com. Like I said, you can buy the children's book that I wrote. Got some T-shirts that lights out on bullying. No, just anything like that. If you ever want me to come to a school, hit me up and try and get a hold of me. I know it's been tough right now. I had several schools lined up last year, and then this pandemic thing hit, and everybody canceled, so I haven't got to really go to any schools in a while. So I'm my schedule's open right now. Let me know. I'll see if I can make it. So.
No, that's, I really commend you in that. From myself, growing up, I was bullied quite a bit. And, it really means a lot that you're doing that. And my father always put Alex and I in martial arts as little ones, saying, you need a foundation and, to meet people and build, a team bond. It helped so much, with doing amateur wrestling, Alex doing amateur boxing. It really helped us grow, and really get out there and kind of ignore the bullies, and have some kind of feeling of empowerment.
Yeah, that's super important, man. And I'm always thinking, man, if you are someone who people look up to, I'm really trying to target those kids to stand up for these people. Because, I mean, if they will stand up for some kid, I know it's tough when you're young, but I mean, if they'll stand up for somebody, that might be the cool trend. And, oh, my God, so then that could be a good thing, too. I mean, people are going to do what the people they admire do. And if you got somebody who's a captain of the football team and he's picking on people, everybody's going to think it's cool. But if you have a captain of the football team and he's standing up for kids. That might be a good thing to do. You know what I mean? So you just got to try and, try and make these people understand. I always tell people, like, when I was fighting, it feels good to be, everybody admires you. They clap for you. They cheer your name. But, I mean, it feels you can get that without fighting. Not everybody can be in the middle of an arena with 20,000 people cheering your name. But you can all be at school and be looked up to by those kids who are, being picked on. You're standing up for them. They'll look up to you forever. I still look up to people who stood up for me when I was a little kid, I mean, these kids, I was hanging out with older kids, and people pick on me, and they stand up for me. I was like, man, I felt like I was a badass because I was hanging out with these older kids who were standing up for me. I'm like, you could be that kid. I look up to these kids who stood up for me 35 years ago. You know what I mean? 40 years ago almost. So it's like, it's crazy.
Oh, no, I can relate to that. I've had people, defend me, and I pay it forward by helping others when I was in high school. Hey, don't pick on them, back off. Even now as adults, you see people, in the workplace doing stuff like that. It goes on.
People, it's not like when you graduate from high school and you turn your little tassel over. It's like, that don't go away. You got a bully mentality. You're a bully. You can be a prick still. They don't call. That's what they call it now. He's a prick. He's not even a bully, but it's like, that's still a dick, man. So yeah, it's tough sometimes to, have the courage to stand up. But I mean, it's good to be looked up to by the people, and you feel better about yourself when you do. You feel bad when you don't.
Oh yeah, Alex and I, at our dojo, we help the little ones, and we see them all the time, crying or saying something, and we try to be, the best role models. Especially now, it's so hard with. It seems like bullying has advanced. Now with the technology, people could text you or do some kind of video, message, bullying other kids. It's getting harsher. How do you feel about that?
Man, it's a weird world, man. I would have never thought it would be like this. But it's just the way society's moving. I mean, it's so much. People are, I don't want to say passive aggressive is the right word, but it's just like they don't have the balls to do stuff in person typically, unless there's like a bunch of people around them to help. I don't know. It's just people are just different mentality, man, and I don't care for it. I wish people could understand, but that's not reality, and that's why when I'm doing things, I always tell, like, I'm not about going and telling everybody to be nice. I mean, I touch on that, but I don't care if I tell 100 kids to be nice and 98 of them do listen to me and 2 don't. Those 2 people could cause a lot of problems. They could cause a huge amount of problems. But now, if I tell everybody, hey, man, you need to stand up for people, and only 2 people listen to me, they can stop a lot of problems. They can stop a ton of problems. So you're never going to get everybody to be nice to everybody. That's just not realistic. I don't do unrealistic things. I'm not going to say everybody be nice. It's not going to happen. But if I can try and talk somebody into standing up for people, I'll do that all day, because that can stop all the people from bullying. Let's say only 10 people are trying to bully, and they can stop that. Maybe, I don't know. That's my theory, is we have to be realistic and try and encourage people to do the right thing as opposed to try and stop people from doing the wrong thing.
Oh yeah, and and it's awesome what you're doing, especially with this foundation. Especially we're gonna put a link in our Instagram for if you guys.
Thank you so much.
Absolutely, if you want to learn about it, we'll put the link in Instagram. And yeah, man, we thank you, man, and especially for us, like, we've been bullied. What you're doing, man, we thank you for doing that.
Cool.
And also, we're going towards the end of the show. Is there anything you want to plug in? Anything social media? Anything you have upcoming? Anything?
I did, like I said, I got my I always kind of tell people what I'm doing on my Instagram. That's just Chris Lytle, and then I have a little podcast. I'm doing the Lights Out podcast on YouTube and everything. So if anybody wants to check it out, please do.
All right, awesome, and we're gonna wrap it up there. And again, it's an honor for you to be on, especially a legend like yourself. So we thank you so much for taking the time and talking with us, man. We really appreciate it.
That means a lot.
Oh, well, hey, guys, thank you for having me, man. You guys continue to keep up the good work, and hopefully I'll talk to you soon.
All right, awesome. Thank you. And we'll end it here with the Championship on the Line podcast. I'm Alex.
And I'm Richard.
And we'll see you on the next time.
Take care, guys.
See you guys. Bye.